I'm an honest omega. My heat cycle is messed up. And I ended up forcing myself on my long celibate alpha boss one. In a flashy private room filled with dazzling lights. Red bills fluttered like snow in the air. I'm heartbroken tonight. 20 grand for a single touch. Who wants in? I stared at the rich kid in the center throwing money like crazy. Eyes wide with disbelief. I'll do it. Pushing aside the others. I strutted forward. I slapped my pale bare thigh and declared, "Here. Touch me." The drunk trust fund kid grinned and reached out with a sleazy smile. But just as he was about to touch me, a slender, defined hand intercepted his. The PC Philippe on that wrist nearly blinded me. Looking closer, it even felt familiar. I looked up and met the eyes of the watch's owner. That cold, familiar face made my heart sink. Crap. I'm screwed. Too. Tonight was the first time I saw Damon again since that crazy night. What should I do? I wanted to slip away. But there was no way out. All right, folks. Party's over. The manager came in. Like a royal pardon. I turned and bolted. Bunny and Kitty, stay. I froze mid-stride and turned back with my rabbit ears still on. Nice to meet you. I'm really not happy to serve you. Damon raised a brow. Bunny. This place was a well-known cosplay club in the city. Their thing dressing up as cute animals to entertain customers. I was the lappered rabbit wearing a puffy lace skirt. Half my thighs were exposed. The manager glanced nervously between Damon and me. Damon Bunny's one of our senior staff. Not the prettiest. Sure, but best attitude hands down. What do you think? Damon looked me up and down with a neutral expression. So Craig leaned in, swaying tipsily. You know each other? I was sweating bullets. Beads of sweat rolled down my thighs. Thankfully. Damon looked away and shook his head. Craig shot the manager a knowing glance. Bunny, right? Go sit next to him. I froze. Then, bracing myself, I walked over to Damon's left side. The bell on my neck jingled softly. My micro skirt looked even shorter once I sat down. As I adjusted my posture, a jacket was suddenly shoved in my face. Colin, could you hand me my jacket? Oh. Professional reflex kicked in. I picked up Damon's jacket, folded it neatly, and set it aside. Then I looked up only to lock eyes with him. There was something behind his gaze. But thankfully he said nothing. He simply turned, loosened his tie, and took a sip of ice water. 3. Craig had sobered up quite a bit. Suddenly, something seemed to click and he clicked his tongue. You said an omega bit you. My heart skipped a beat again. Just when I'd finally calmed down, my pulse shot up to my throat. I mean, seriously? You've been the model alpha all these years. Never even hired an omega secretary. What's the deal? Big CEO saving himself for his future wife. Damon's face was half hidden in the hazy club lights. He didn't respond. Craig took a sip of his drink. Bring them around sometime. Yeah. They ran. What? Craig looked shocked. I couldn't help recalling that night. My nape tingled with electricity. Sure. It wasn't right to hit and run, but only an idiot would have stayed. Someone like you and an omega still ran from you. Craig gave Damon a once-over, looking puzzled. Don't tell me you've been holding it in for too long. And now things aren't working. Got rejected for that. Damon shot him a cold glare. All right. All right. I get it. Your pheromone level's off the charts. You win. By the way. Craig suddenly leaned in close to sniff Damon. What cologne are you wearing today? Smells ridiculously wholesome for a grown man. In that instant, my ears turned beet red. I covered my face, wishing I could dig a hole and disappear. But Damon's emotionless voice still drifted over. 3 days ago. I had gone back to the office to pick up a file. just as I was leaving Damon's office. I suddenly went into heat without warning. The faint scent of sandalwood filled the air, overwhelming the room. I slid down the edge of the desk, collapsing onto the carpet. Trembling, I fumbled through my bag for suppressants. In the dark, I saw a blurry figure approaching. I wanted to push them away. But when I opened my arms, it looked more like I was asking for a hug. Everything happened too fast. Before I knew it, I was on top of him. He grabbed my waist. I clawed at his back. He bit the soft flesh of my neck. I sank my teeth into his throat. From midnight until dawn, we lost our minds. Eventually, I passed out from sheer exhaustion. When I opened my eyes again, a faint light was peeking over the horizon. I moved my neck and felt the warm skin beneath me. My brain was still foggy. My eyes followed the faint red marks along his chest inch by inch. And when I saw his face, I sobered up in a flash. I carefully slid off Damon. Hands shaking, I pulled on my pants. While he was still asleep, I fled. If I hadn't, I might not have lived to see today. After all, Damon had fired several of his former Omega secretaries for having ulterior motives. Everyone knew he refused to hire Omegas as personal assistants. And I, who had been by his side for 5 years as a beta, had always been honest and reliable, kept my head down and did my job, never once drooled over his body. I only wanted his money. I had always been proud of that. Thankfully, there was a power outage that day. He didn't see my face. 5. Damon got up to take a call, while Craig and Kitty were getting handsy with each other. I slipped away to the restroom. I peeled off the invisible suppressant patch on my neck. Sure enough, in the mirror, the gland was slightly red. All it took was catching a faint trace of Damon's lingering scent, and the back of my neck had already started heating up and swelling. I pressed the patch back on and stepped out of the stall only to find 2 or 3 alphas clearly drunk blocking my way. What the hell? Thought it was a sweet little Omega. Turns out it's just a beta. Did my pheromones leak out? I kept my guard up and tried to walk around them. Excuse me. But the alpha in front suddenly spread his arms to block me in. Looked closer and hey could still do. Amidst jeering whistles and nasty smirks, he started pushing me back into the stall step by step. I had come out in a hurry and hadn't brought my phone. The alpha's hand was just about to grab my waist. I raised my leg, ready to fight back. But his face suddenly twisted sideways with a loud crack, and the whole man was shoved aside with brute force. Damon's sharply cut profile appeared before me. He stood in front of me, giving the 3 a cold sweep of his eyes. Is there a problem? 6. What the hell? This one's taken. Maybe Damon's presence was just that intimidating. The 3 of them exchanged awkward glances and backed off. As my eyes dropped, I saw Damon holding his jacket over his arm. You heading out? Yeah. That itchy tingling sensation returned to the back of my neck. It hit me like a brick. Just being in the same space as Damon was enough to trigger a reaction. My legs nearly buckled, but I forced myself to stand upright. Are you okay? I tried to play it off. I'm fine. Just startled, I guess. Damon gave me a once-over, then handed his car key to the valet. I quickly waved him off. And no, it's fine. I'll grab a cab. Didn't you say you were scared? The valet had already pulled the car up front. Damon didn't say much. He just walked off, leaving me with nothing but his back. I had no choice but to follow and slide into the back seat. Thanks, Ben. As soon as the car started, I spotted Craig outside with a gloomy face. Craig not coming with us. He's got his own ride. The silence got a little awkward. I looked away but caught a glimpse of Damon steering one-handed, texting with the other. Seriously, you're treating me like some random stranger now. Just giving a coworker a ride. Coworker. Don't think I didn't see that long-legged beta from earlier. Right? Get your own cab. No one's backing me up. Is this fair? Answer me. The notification pings came one after another. Damon casually turned off his screen and tossed the phone aside. The silver-gray ghost cruised into the old town's narrow alleys. It stood out like a sore thumb in the shabby neighborhood. Maybe just drop me off here. Damon stopped the car. I'd been nervous the whole ride. Worried my scent would flare up again. Just as I was about to bolt out the door, Damon handed me his jacket again. Put this on. I widened my eyes in shock, holding the jacket in both hands. I looked up at him. Is that really okay? This has your someone else's scent on it. Colin. Damon tapped the steering wheel slowly with his fingers. If someone takes a picture of you getting out of my car like that, what do you think tomorrow's headlines will say? I let out a slow breath. So that's what this is about. Ever since Damon took over, the company had skyrocketed. And personally, he'd stayed in the top 3 on the most desirable alphas to marry list for years. He was always a tabloid magnet. Especially rumors about him and the hot young Omega celeb Foster. Those were clickbait gold for gossip bloggers. Just the thought of working late to clean up those trending topics made me shiver. So, I wrapped Damon's jacket tightly around myself. Whatever. Forget the exposed legs. The lingering scent seeped into my nose again. Strand by strand. The suppressant patch wouldn't last long. I glanced over. Damon had turned his head away, lowering the window. I opened the car door and dashed out. 7. The next day, I walked through the office like usual, only to get swarmed by a group of coworkers. Colin. Who is the future Mrs. Boss? Spill it already. Never thought the boss would be like that. Coming in reeking of your partner's scent. Walking through every single department like it's nothing. Showing off that pheromone like it's cologne. Afraid no one knows he's taken. TSK. Devious alpha. I broke into a cold sweat. This wasn't showing off. It was a witch hunt. One coworker looked at me in disbelief. Colin. You're with the boss all the time. You really didn't know? I shook my head wildly. Then 2 arms suddenly wrapped around me from behind. All cheerful and teasing. Come on. You guys forgot. Colin's a beta. He can't even smell pheromones. 8. That little punk Nolan. Back when he was an intern. I bailed him out a couple times. Ever since, he'd clung to me like glue. I turned and smacked his wandering hand off me. Just as we were messing around, the elevator dinged. The doors opened and Damon stepped out looking calm as ever. Everyone instantly fell silent, eyes tracking him like soldiers. Even Nolan and Alpha himself straightened up like a cadet. The beta colleagues clutched their faces. Bosses' looks. The pride of office workers everywhere. An Omega coworker squinted. Ugh. If my man ever acted like such a peacock, I'd smack him. As Damon passed me, he paused. Colin. Come to my office. I adjusted my thick-rimmed glasses and snapped out of it. Straightened my ill-fitting blazer as I followed and knocked on the office door. Come in. Damon was standing with his back to me, facing the giant window. His back, broad shoulders, narrow waist, tall posture, looked just like the silhouette from the other night. When he stepped in front of me to shield me, I swallowed. Got to admit, kind of hot. Our company specializes in AI-compatible tech products. Right now, we're launching an AI-based pheromone suppressant ring. We're even considering getting a famous Omega celebrity to endorse it. I placed the finalized documents in front of Damon, but he pushed the folder aside. Got everything set for the company outing before the holiday. I nodded. Pulled everyone, we're going with a water sports day. Damon gave a low hum of acknowledgement. I turned to leave, but a dull tapping sound echoed through the office. Damon was lightly knocking his pen cap on the desk. The rhythm sent a chill down my spine. It pulled me back to a few nights ago. Fragments of forgotten memories came rushing back right here in this very office. I'd committed a fatal workplace offense. Every extra second here felt like torture. I forced myself to turn around. Is there anything else you need? Colin. Damon looked up calmly. Did you wear perfume today? 9. A jolt of electricity shot up through my entire body. I froze where I stood. No way. Absolutely no way. After that one time with Damon, my pheromones had been a bit unstable. But just in case, I'd used the strongest invisible suppressant patch available. I lifted my shirt collar and sniffed. Probably the discounted laundry detergent I just bought from the supermarket. They said it was blended by some Italian fragrance master. Maybe the scent's too strong. Should I switch brands next time? Damon propped a hand against his temple. Waved dismissively. No need. Oh. I let out a breath of relief and hurried out of the room. As soon as the team building announcement went out, Nolan rushed to reserve the seat right next to mine. And on the day of the trip, to everyone's surprise, Damon actually rode the staff bus. Nolan sat beside me and Damon sat across from us. Everything was going fine until halfway through the trip and Omega suddenly went into heat. I reacted quickly, pressing a suppressant patch on her and arranging for someone to take her home. Nolan leaned over from my side. Colin. I thought you couldn't smell pheromones. I froze for a second. Anyone can tell when someone's not feeling right. Then why do you carry all this stuff around? You dating someone? I quickly waved my hands. No way I could admit I bought all this to protect myself from Damon. Huh? Just being cautious. There are a lot of Omegas at work. Nolan perked up and slung an arm around my shoulders. Wow. Colin. You're so thoughtful. If you were an Omega, I'd totally go after you. I laughed and gently pushed his arm away. But when I turned my head, I accidentally locked eyes with Damon. 1 second. 2 seconds. Damon was still staring in my direction. I blinked in confusion. Then he finally turned and looked out the window. 10. As soon as we arrived at the resort, the Omega colleagues suggested a freestyle relay race. Their intent couldn't have been clearer. They just wanted a glimpse of the boss' incredible physique. I was assigned as referee. Right after we formed the teams, one person had to back out with a stomach issue. The Omegas panicked and snatched my stopwatch. Colin. We've waited all year for this. Come on. Fill in for us. If I refused, I'd probably be tackled to the ground by this pack of thirsty Omegas. So, with no choice, I ended up joining Damon's team. In the changing room, both Damon and Nolan knew I didn't bring swim trunks. So, they each handed me a spare. I hesitated, glanced at the super short, super loud triangle briefs Nolan was holding, then took the plain shorts Damon offered. They were much looser, but had an adjustable drawstring. Thankfully, everyone was already stretching and warming up. Hyped and ready. I double-cheed my suppressant patch, and was the last one to show up at the pool. Nolan proudly showed off the chest muscles he'd been working on. Glancing around, Damon was the only one still wearing a shirt. He happened to look my way, even though it was just a brief glance before looking away. I felt my heart skip. Colin. Over here quick. Nolan's arm froze halfway through his wave. Holy. The Omegas gathered around Damon also turned their heads. Damn. A bunch of A and B coworkers looked over, too. Their eyes said more than words. I walked over awkwardly, utterly confused. An Omega coworker rubbed her chin. TSK Colin. I've never seen skin paler than yours. Nolan's cheeks flushed for no reason. Colin. Your legs are amazing. Long and straight. Then he reached out like he was going to hug me. Your waist is really slim. Too. Startled. I jumped away so fast I nearly slipped into the pool. Thankfully, Damon reached out in time and caught me. As I looked up, he was walking away while lifting his shirt hem and in slow motion like a movie, pulled off his top. Long legs, strong waist, broad shoulders. He had it all. V-lines, abs, chest. Nothing missing. I gulped. The Omegas instantly lost interest in Nolan. They practically glued their eyes to Damon. The race was about to start. Damon and Nolan were the first swimmers. I followed after Damon. While stretching, Nolan turned to me. "Hey, take your time. I'll wait at the finish line." But the second the whistle blew, I hadn't even reacted yet. Damon shot off like a bullet through water, leaving Nolan far behind in seconds. His sleek, sculpted back sliced through the pool like a shark's fin. The people on shore gasped in awe. As soon as Damon touched the wall, I dove in. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw him easily hoisting himself out of the pool, fingers running through his wet hair, pushing it back. He's too much. I swam with everything I had, but still ended up so exhausted I couldn't even climb out. Nolan, true to his word, was waiting for me at the edge. "Give me your hand," I panted, flinging off water droplets. Reached up and grabbed a familiar, slender hand. Looked up and found Damon staring right back at me. 11. I froze. Damon held onto my hand and with a splash pulled me out of the water. The next second, a dry towel landed on my shoulders. "You okay?" His deep voice came from above. I jerked my head up too fast. My neck smacked right into Damon's chin. I let out a cry. I'd meant to say I'm fine, but the words got stuck in my throat. My naturally sensitive gland instantly reacted and swelled up on the spot. My ears turned visibly red. A dull ache spread through my lower abdomen. Nolan came over holding cold drinks. "Colin, why is your face so red? Must have eaten some bad seafood or something." I am just going to step away for a sec, leaving the two of them confused. I bolted straight to the changing room. The second I stepped in, my legs gave out. I collapsed on the floor, completely sore and weak, panting for air. I couldn't understand it. We only did it once. How did my pheromones end up bonding to Damon's scent like this? I shook a suppressant out of my bag, feeling my chaotic pheromones slowly settle down again. But the physical reaction below the waist just kept growing stronger. I turned on the cold shower, letting the water blast my entire body. But suddenly remembered Damon's changing room was right next door. I forced myself to stand up and before I knew it, I walked straight in. Inside on the shelf was the shirt Damon had just taken off. I picked it up, hands trembling. Just one breath. Just one. I licked my dry lips, face flushed deep red, and buried my head in it. 12. During dinner, Craig suddenly rushed over. The cool guy from before now looked like he'd been crying. Dark circles under his eyes like he hadn't slept in days. Damon's linen shirt was wrinkled and messy, making me feel uneasy. Luckily, Damon was busy comforting his friend and didn't notice anything unusual. I quietly breathed a sigh of relief and headed back to the hotel. But at the door, I saw Damon drenched from head to toe. The pipes in my room burst. "Colin, I'll be sharing the room with you tonight. Hope you don't mind." Damon had his usual ice-cold abstinent expression. Even though his wet shirt was almost see-through, his tone was strictly business. I didn't know where to look. My room faces the garden. Lots of mosquitoes. "Maybe you should stay at Craig's. He already left." I was surprised. So soon. Company stuff. Right then, Damon's phone suddenly buzzed nonstop in his pocket. He glanced at it, then slipped it back in, clearly not in a hurry to reply. I hesitated whether to open the door for him. Suddenly, he turned his head and sneezed loudly. After all, you can't offend the god of wealth. Resigned, I took out my key card and opened the door to the room. Please come in. 13. I didn't sleep all night. I nervously stayed up through the dark hours. In a drowsy moment, I felt a tickling itch at the back of my neck. Damn mosquitoes. I slapped the air hard. Finally, I slept straight through until dawn. The next morning, Damon's side of the bed was empty. The front desk said he left wearing a mask. Seemed like he caught a cold. Over the years, I'd always been the one to take care of Damon when he was sick. Just as I was debating whether to message him, a group of omegas nearby were chatting excitedly. Looks like the boss is finally off the market, I interrupted. Off the market? Yeah, last night he was talking with Craig about a family-arranged marriage. As expected, people like them care about social status in marriage. Suddenly, an Omega coworker leaned close to whisper. Actually, all these years, people have been shipping you and the boss in secret. After all, only Colin's been with the boss this long. Beta or not, strength and time can still do the trick. I was stunned at first. After a moment, I shook my head with a smile because staying close to Damon this long wasn't about anything special on my part. It was about knowing my place, never crossing any boundaries. After the holiday, Damon still hadn't shown up at the office. Meanwhile, I'd become a hot topic among colleagues. My desk and inbox overflowed with matchmaking profiles. Not just alphas and betas, but even omegas. I closed my computer and was handed a photo once again. I crossed my arms to refuse. But the other side had already booked a time and place. So I had no choice but to go. 14. Just as I arrived at the restaurant, out of breath, Nolan blocked my way. He shoved my recent social media post right in front of me. Bro, you're going on a blind date. I glanced, nodded. Why? He looked at me like I'd betrayed him. Bro, don't you like me? I stared at him, blinking wildly. When did that happen? How come I didn't know? Nolan was frantic. If you didn't like me, why were you so nice during my internship? If you didn't like me, why did you smile at me every day? If you didn't like me, why did you let me sit next to you at the team event? Or do you think you're just a beta? Not good enough for me? Don't worry. I won't mind. I rubbed my forehead, both amused and exasperated. You're overthinking. I'm like that with everyone. Nolan almost cried. Are all you betas like this? Flirt with people and then don't take responsibility. I shrugged helplessly. If you think that way, there's nothing I can do. That sounded even worse. Hello, is this Colin? A stranger's voice came from behind. The alpha I was supposed to meet on my blind date was holding a small bouquet of brown tulips. Now things got even more awkward. No clue how much of this the guy overheard. Alphas were naturally competitive. Both silently sized each other up. The atmosphere turned weird fast. Passers-by glanced back. I stood in the middle, wishing I could disappear. Just as I tried to push them apart, a McLaren roared up and stopped right in front of us. Nolan impatiently knocked on the car window. Dude. How do you park like this? The window rolled down. Boss. Damon's eyes passed over Nolan and the alpha, locking on me. 15. He got out and opened the car door on one side. Nolan and the alpha looked him over. The tension grew thicker. I glanced at the two of them, then back at Damon. In the end, I got in Damon's car. I thought we were heading back to the office. Instead, Damon floored the accelerator and drove to the seaside. The palm trees swayed. The night breeze blew gently, but the car was surprisingly quiet. Damon rolled down the window, and the sea breeze immediately messed up his tie. He casually loosened his collar with one hand. Colin, is this a blind date? I nodded. Yeah. Just seeing what's out there. So, How am I? Ha. I froze, eyes wide. If Colin wants to date, what about me? I twisted my neck mechanically. Not a good match. A shadow fell over me. Damon turned and unbuckled his seatbelt. Why not? The small space suddenly felt charged. I suddenly moved back. Aren't you thinking about an arranged marriage? Damon paused as if searching his memory. It's Craig. His situation is complicated and he's consulting me. Was he explaining himself to me? Khalid's words echoed in my mind again. But marriage really should be between equals. At that, Damon seemed to relax. You don't need to worry about that. Between us. Between us. I repeated those words in my head, lost for what to say. The car fell silent again. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Damon's hands gripping the steering wheel, tightening, then loosening. Suddenly, he sighed. Colin, after biting someone, aren't you planning to take responsibility? 16. A sudden chill ran down my spine. Had I been exposed? When did that happen? Take responsibility. What responsibility? Damon leaned over, looking at me silently. I sympathize with you and your situation. But I pointed at myself, lying through my teeth. I'm just a beta. Then quickly turned around. We really aren't a good match. With debts hanging over me, I couldn't risk gambling on Damon's affection and losing my job. No one knew better than me how much Damon hated Omegas who schemed to get close to him. With Damon's status, Omegas throwing themselves at him were endless. As many as he wanted. As long as he wished. It was just that night. A one-time accident. All right. I understand. Damon's voice came again. Yes. I quietly exhaled. This was reality. I will pursue you. What? I looked up in surprise. Damon's tone was calm, like making the most ordinary business decision. During this period, if you feel uncomfortable at any time, just say stop. All contact with any other person beyond work. I will report to you. Wait. You don't have to. My brain was already overloaded. 1 month. Damon interrupted. Voice a little urgent. Looking closer. Even his chest beneath the shirt seemed to rise and fall unevenly. I was stunned. Turns out he wasn't as confident as he seemed on the surface. If after 1 month, you still think we're not a fit, then I will let go. Damn it. The glands at the back of my neck were twitching again. I turned my head away. The reflection on the window was quickly flushing red. 17. Damon dropped me off downstairs at my apartment. Only then did I realize both my legs were numb. I told Damon to go ahead first, then hobbled up the stairs like a robot. Just after I got home, I received a business trip notice from him. I frowned. The club made quick money during holidays. With that income, plus the years of meager pay, I could finally pay off the huge debt I'd been carrying and be free. Clearly, Damon was cutting off my money stream just after swearing to pursue me. This was how he pursued. I'm going to take a part-time job during the holidays. Damon replied quickly. The club from last time. Yes. I tossed the phone aside. Even if Damon begged on his knees today, I had to go. The phone rang again. I lit up the screen. I'll have finance pay your business trip allowance at the company's highest rate. For all your lost personal time. I'll pay by the hour. You name the price. After reading the messages 3 times, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. The chat showed typing. After a few seconds, another message popped up. Can you not go? 18. My phone suddenly felt hot to the touch. I collapsed on the bed, hand over my heart, feeling like I'd been hit by something. Sleepless all night. At 8 o'clock in the morning, with dark circles under my eyes, I staggered downstairs carrying my briefcase. Under the old banyan tree in the complex, A beige Bentley Bentayga was parked. Damon leaned against the hood with one hand holding a huge bouquet of brown tulips. He wore a low-saturation linen shirt today, looking elegant and old money. I blinked a bit, reluctant to admit it, but he was ridiculously handsome. Seeing me approach, he ended his call. "Good morning." I waved slowly. "Good morning." Damon bumped fists with me and naturally handed me the flowers. I took them hesitantly from his hand. Sigh. He seemed even more handsome today. Our meeting was in a nearby city, less than half a day's drive. Cool, refreshing sea breeze poured through the car window, slipping into my collar, making me want to float. Suddenly, it felt like a work-funded romance. The thought surprised even me. I glanced at Damon, focused on driving to my left, then at the tulip swaying in the breeze on my lap. Did it count? Probably not yet. Just as we arrived at the villa in the city, Craig's call came through. 19, the voice on the other end was deafening. Young men and women shouting wildly. Clearly a last wild party before marriage. Damon hung up and looked at me. "He's not doing well. I'm going to check on him." Was that a heads up? I raised an eyebrow. With a bit of mild authority, I said, "Oh." The keypad lock only accepted Damon's and my fingerprints. I opened the door smoothly. Damon owned many properties. He didn't like hotels, so he bought houses in many cities at home and abroad. If not sold, they were long-term rentals. He was so rich it was almost reckless. That was why I'd been acting the obedient beta all these years, enduring intense work and travel demands while doubling as someone's personal caregiver. Hard to please but generous with rewards. In the evening, dripping wet, I stepped out of the bathroom just as Damon returned. He lay back on the sofa with his eyes closed, one hand resting on his stomach like a statue. I turned and walked away, feeling dead inside. Damon's parents died early. He was raised by his grandfather. Later, when the old man fell ill, internal power struggles erupted. Damon used ruthless methods to make everyone submit. During that time, he developed a serious stomach illness. When I took over as his secretary, afraid of being fired, I vowed to take care of the statue well. Over the years, his stomach got much better. I brought Damon a bowl of yam millet porridge from the kitchen, cooked an hour earlier, soft and tasty as usual. I set the blended porridge and medicine in front of him. Who was happier? I didn't say. Just as I turned to leave, Damon suddenly propped himself up, his arms loosely wrapped around my waist. As if afraid to stir the spring waters, he gently buried his face. Warm breath tickled my stomach. I suspected he was nuzzling me. I froze completely, watching him lift his head with eyes half closed, a satisfied cat-like smile spreading across his face. "Drink now or wait until it cools." I snorted softly. What a move! Using his looks to seduce, then playing the vulnerable card to get attention. Too bad I was a clueless office drone. My eyes only saw the small money Damon promised. I pushed Damon away empty-eyed, pointing at the porridge on the coffee table. Firmly, I said, "This is a different price. 20 as the company's flagship product for the next few years." Damon planned to personally oversee the spokesperson for this year's new neck restraint. On the way, I checked my phone. Multiple trending topics about Foster and Damon appeared again on a certain platform. I raised an eyebrow. If past rumors were just marketing hype this time, it felt too coincidental. Whether or not a contract was signed, it only confirmed the scandal further. Interesting appetite. What surprised me even more? This Foster wasn't just anyone. He was my half-brother from my father's other family. How does it feel playing with an alpha? Bet your glands are already chewed up. In the restroom, I looked up at my reflection, caught mid-fix of my makeup. My washing stopped. Years ago, my dad was lured by Foster's mom into venture capital. The startup failed, leaving massive debt. She divorced and took all the family savings overnight. Debt collectors came, causing the family to collapse. My dad couldn't take it. Apologized kneeling to me, then jumped from the rooftop. For years I thought Foster the star was just a look-alike. Turns out it was the same person. Foster blocked my way to match the product style. Today he wore a luxury black velvet pearl choker, paying off Dad's debt all these years. What if I tell Damon you're actually an Omega? Guess how he'd react. Think you'll keep your job? 21. I widened my eyes sharply. Amused by my reaction, Foster chuckled, then swaggered away proudly in the private room. Foster toasted Damon in front of everyone. Damon, thanks for this chance. One hand holding his glass, the other teasing the loose neck of his long, slender neck. His agent must have warned him. Damon never accepts this kind of thing. Just then, a strange smell of red wine hit my nose. I smirked knowingly. Years later, Foster still seduced the same way, thinking a little pheromone tease was enough to hook someone. But he didn't know he was courting disaster. I suddenly stepped back 2 paces, pulled out a handkerchief to cover my nose and mouth. Next second, Foster let out a painful scream. Aw! His glass smashed on the floor. He curled trembling on the ground. The room's temperature dropped instantly. Damon looked down at him, eyes icy. Foster's agent turned pale. No one dared to help Foster. Damon calmly stood up. Tell your boss to manage his people better. And I'm withdrawing investment from the IP Sunrise Entertainment has pending. I saw Foster panic immediately. I heard the lead roles for those IPs were set on him. Suddenly, he looked desperate, grabbing Damon's pant leg. Damon, do you know Collins and Omega? He's a liar. Been trying to get in your bed all these years. You've been fooled. I clenched my teeth and fists. Damon looked at him. Evidence? Foster didn't expect Damon's interest. Hope flashed in his eyes. His Pheromones' rare deep mountain smile. Glands recessed from birth. Most can't tell. Damon turned toward me. Voice low, eyes fierce. Is that true, Colin? I refused to play along. I looked everywhere but at him. Everyone waited to see me make a fool of myself, especially Foster's twisted face on the floor. Lying's wrong. I nervously tugged Damon's shirt sleeve. Next moment, my wrist felt cold. My right hand was lifted by Damon. In everyone's stunned silence, he leaned in and kissed the back of my hand. 22, dazed. I returned to the villa. Damon pinned me at the door. Beta. I giggled foolishly. Damon looked down at me like a well-behaved big cat. Want to see? See what? I instinctively leaned back in alarm. His gaze slid to my perfectly buttoned shirt collar. No. Damon went silent. Back to intense staring mode. A faint sweet scent slowly spread through the air. His eyes lit up. I turned my face away with a pout. You can smell it if you want. A short laugh came from above. Want to hug? I snorted. Don't think I'll soften just because you helped me out. After 2 seconds of staring mode, he smiled triumphantly. I slowly raised both arms. For now, this is the only way I'll hug you. The frustrated alpha bent down and wrapped me in his arms. Want to kiss? Already kissed. Want more? No. You don't. Then hug again. I gritted my teeth. Next moment, my feet left the ground. Damon rested his head on my shoulder. Arms wrapped around me. Eyes contentedly closed. Who was happy this time? I won't say. I kept Damon waiting for a whole month. After all these years of being the untouchable high mountain flower, I could endure. What was a month? Whenever Damon wanted to go official, I'd smile and repeat his words verbatim. The domineering CEO frowned. Helpless. But now he was too good at this, swimming dozens of laps in the outdoor pool. wearing 4 different sets of designer suits every day. But I wasn't really empty. Days flew to month's end. I secretly went to the club to cover for Kitty and handle my resignation. On the way to the locker room, unexpectedly, Foster appeared. Seeing me, he charged. A cold, unfamiliar object grazed my skin. Then a sharp sting on my neck. I slid down the wall weakly, my strength draining. Foster dropped the syringe, teeth clenched, grabbing my chin. Colin, what I can't have, you won't have either. It's been like this since childhood. Still is now. When you're fully marked by someone else. Do you think Damon will want you? The glands on the back of my neck burned fiercely. Not good. It's an aphrodisiac. My heat cycle was triggered early. 23. Foster shoved me into a strange private room. Silence all around. Only my heavy breathing could be heard. My glands burned hotter than ever. The pheromones in the room grew stronger. Suddenly, a loud clatter echoed. Someone pushed themselves up from a pile of empty bottles. I looked over and it was Craig. He shook his head, but his eyes glowed a terrifying shade of red. Craig stumbled toward me. AO pheromones attracted instinctively. I nearly panicked and stepped back. Craig slowly approached, but after a second or two, he recoiled like a frightened porcupine. Don't come any closer. He moved toward the door, pulling out his phone. I'm calling Damon right now. I breathed a sigh of relief. He opened the door, but it was locked from outside. Who dares mess with me? Hope you don't get caught. The call connected. In a daze, I heard Craig yelling, Damon, you. Damon's voice on the other end was cold as ever. What's the matter? You come quickly or I'll bite you and you'll lose your wife. The call was abruptly cut off. No address given. A faint scent of mint drifted in the room. Craig slapped his own face hard. Damn. I can't hold it much longer. Then banging his head against the wall repeatedly. After a furious flurry of movement, Craig locked himself in the bathroom. Finally, silence. I could almost hear time ticking by. My sanity had long faded. Only instinct helped me fight the intense emptiness inside me. I curled up tightly, clenching my teeth, suppressing a near-crazy urge. After an unknown time, the door was forcefully broken open. A familiar figure hurried toward me. When he bent down, the scent of snowy mountains filled every pore of my body. Sweat soaked me through. A certain sensitive place was already damp. I instinctively clung to Damon's waist, my body curling tightly. Be good. Hold on a little longer. I frowned, restless without more comfort. Forgetting Shane, I nuzzled Damon's throat like a cat. He paused, breathing sharply, and carried me away briskly. As we left, I caught a glimpse of a very tall person, with a commanding presence. She pushed open the bathroom door. A female alpha. She squatted down, looking down at Craig, lifting his chin. Can't hold it. Craig trembled violently. I asked Damon, is he okay? Damon didn't even glance at his friend. He brought it on himself. Won't die. 24. The butler's outfit mixed with business suits, winding from the villa's first floor all the way to the top. Cat ears dropped by the bedside. The black lace mask was soaked with sweat. Just as I reached to pull it off, Damon's kisses rained down like drops. We went wild in the villa for a whole week. During that time, Damon went to the floor-to-ceiling window to take a call. I clearly heard the name Foster. I searched all platforms. He had already disappeared. Damon turned back and resumed his new game. Found it. So, my wife's glands are here. Damon's deep husky voice whispered in my ear. My throat was unable to speak. In the bathroom, Damon wiped the steam off the mirror. I stared at my gland marks, clearly visible. No need to look harder. Wife. Who's your wife? I turned away angrily but was drawn to a hidden compartment by the mirror. I opened it. Inside was a small bottle labeled pheromone disorder stabilizer. It hit me like thunder. That day the pheromone disorder wasn't mine at all. That beast's scheming alpha kidnapping an honest man. I struggled fiercely in Damon's arms. I'm stopping this now. This relationship not happening. Damon held my flailing legs firmly on his shoulders. My toes curled numb. He wiped the cold sweat from my nose. Eyes reined as he leaned close. Wife. Don't fuss. Too late.